Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Orlia Day. Thank you so much for pressing play. If you are new here, welcome, and go ahead and subscribe so that you can be a part of this family. And if you have already subscribed, thank you so much for your support. Now today, as usual, I am excited, but I am so excited about this video in particular, and I'm excited to share with you that I am starting a new series called Fasting Miracles. If you follow me on Facebook or Instagram, you will see that announcement. And so today is the day in which we start that series, and I'm bringing episode 1 to you right now. Now, as you can tell, this series is about fasting, and I will be sharing some of my most cherished experiences with you about how God showed up and showed out in my life as a result of fasting and prayer. The Bible does tell us, guys, that there are just some things that will not be possible unless you fast and pray. Unless you fast and pray. And so I want to share my journey with you with the hope that you will be encouraged and edified. I fast pretty much for everything, but whenever I am making a decision or I'm transitioning, whenever I need a breakthrough, I need clarity, I need to hear from God. I need to break some things that need to be broken, and I need to mend some things that needs to be fixed. I fast. I inherited this principle from my mom while I was growing up. This is what she did to hear from God, to tap into the power of God, and to resolve issues that was in her life. And so I adopted that principle as well. And I can tell you, I have never fasted and God did not answer. I cannot recall a time in which I was faced with difficulties and I fasted about it and God didn't speak. And so I want to share one of those stories with you today, and also in other episodes about how God really came through for me as a result of fasting and prayer. And so if that is something that you are interested in, stick around so that you can hear more. All right, so this story that I'm going to be sharing with you is one that has contributed to my personal growth. It is during that time in 2012 that I've started this deliberate journey of developing myself and of really paying close attention to knowing who I am more and living a life of purpose. So it is very dear to me, and I hope as I share this experience with you that you too will be blessed. Now let us get straight into it and come with me to 2012. In 2012, I was attending Northern Carolina University, and I was going into my final year of university. Now, as you might know, for some of you who have looked at or watched some of my videos, you will know that I am from a very humble background, and making the decision to go to university was a dream of mine since I was in high school. However, I did not know where the finances was going to come from regarding going to university. And so because there are two persons who attend university, those of faith and finances, and I am those of faith, I went standing on faith to go to university. Initially, when I started for my first year, I acquired student loan, but as soon as I continued, I was introduced to literature evangelism or canvassing. Let me hear from the canvassers who are watching. Just comment down below which year you canvassed, where you canvassed, and just give us a shout out. Now, canvassing, spreading the gospel through printed pages, and we were given an opportunity to, or different opportunities to go overseas to canvass in order to spread the gospel, acquire funds to go through school, and also to really build our character and it is a work that I love and I cherish dearly. I canvassed straight for 10 years, believe it or not, and that was my means of going through undergrad and also for my master's. And so if it wasn't for that work that is second to none, I would not have been able to go through school. I hold it very dear to me. But in my final year, I was supposed to go back to the embassy for a visa. I went to the embassy twice before. The first time I got a single entry, and the second time I got 2 years. I went and I came back home. I did what I was told to do. So going for the third time was not a problem for me. I'm like, you know what, I got this. I usually fast when I'm going to the embassy, and I did fast this time around, but I was pretty confident that I would be successful. I had nothing worried about. We went to the embassy, and I think it was 26 of us who was on that team. The difference with that particular time and the times that I went before, I went by myself before individually, but during this particular incident, I went in a group. We had an agency that assisted us to go to the embassy. 29 of us was on that team. I remember we went, it was time for us to be interviewed, and can you believe that I was actually the first person? For some reason they said they needed a leader, and I was the one who they chose. Bad idea. So I went first, and I remember, and I have to just sit up for this one. I remember I was being interviewed, and we went through the same procedures. We showed our documents, we showed the letter from the organization, and I remember the guy was interviewing me, and he was asking me some questions, and he was communicating with some of his colleagues. And then, believe it or not, my final year of university flashed across my eyes. The man rejected me. He gave me a green slip to say, you did not get through with this interview. I'm like, the devil is a liar. And I was there staring at this man. I'm like, dude, seriously? And the first thing that I thought about was, how on earth am I going to continue university if I was not successful for this interview? And can you believe that out of 29 students, I think there was about only 9 the most students who was successful. So more than 50, actually more than 70% of the students who went for that interview was unsuccessful. And when I tell you I bawl living air water. And the first thing that I started questioning God, may I come out of the interview and I'm like, so what am I supposed to do now? You bring me to my final year of university. This is my means of going to school. I did other things. I worked on campus, and I also was a part of other programs, but it wasn't enough to pay my tuition fee, and so I was really discouraged, really disheartened, and I was just wondering, what am I going to do? I was supposed to start summer session a few days after that interview, and I'm wondering, how is it that I'm even going to focus, knowing that I have no means of going to school? And so I did what I always do. I decided that I am going to go on a fast the following week, and I think this interview was the Thursday thereabout, and I decided that I was going to go on a fast this particular weekend. I remember going on the fast, and I don't even know what I was praying for, but I was just pouring my heart out to God and asking him, what will you have me do now? Because I don't know what I am going to do. I cannot see no way out in this particular situation. And so for that particular fasting, I was just pouring my heart out to God, telling him how I felt. And interestingly, I said to him, you are punishing me. No, you are punishing me, because in that season of my life, I he was directing me in a direction that I did not want to go. I was involved in certain things that I shouldn't be involved in. I was pretty much, just to state it clearly, I was a hot mess 2012. And so in my mind, I thought that God was punishing me, because I'm like, I couldn't see through it. How is it that I went to the embassy 2 times? I traveled 3 times before that. And you're going to tell me that I go to the embassy the 3rd time, my final year of university, and I was unsuccessful? God punished me. I am telling you, he is punishing me. And so that was my mindset. Very young, relatively young, not so young, but relatively young, and did not necessarily understand the moving of God during that time. And so I really thought that he was punishing me. I know better now, but that was my mindset during that time. And I remember I was praying my final prayer for that fasting, and I was pouring my heart out to God and just telling him how I felt and asking him what to do. And as soon as I finished that prayer, I got a call from someone. And I remember even in the fasting and prayer, I was impressed to go back to the embassy. But I was like, why go back to the embassy? First, I don't have any money. I think the first interview I went to, I borrowed that money. I don't have any money. I think that was over $20,000 at the time, which was a lot of money then, and it's still a lot of money now. And I didn't know where that was going to come from, and a lot of things just was going through my mind. People were telling me that that's not going to be possible. Usually you're not able to go back to the embassy so quickly and get a visa. Your situation has to change in order for you to go back and all of that. And so I was wrestling with all of those ideas. But I remember when I prayed my last prayer and I finished praying, before I got up off my knees, someone from the group, well, in the club, because there was a club on campus, a canvassing club on campus, and someone from that club called me, and he was checking on me, and he said to me, Aurelia, I think you should go back to the embassy. And that was confirmation for me that God was telling me to go back to the embassy. When I told friends, family members that I'm gonna go back, quite a few persons discouraged me and told me, boy, Aurelia, that's a waste of money. I don't, where you gonna get that money to go on, and you're gonna lose another maybe $25,000, because you're gonna have to pay for the appointment, you're gonna have to pay for the interview, and persons were discouraging me. But I decided that, listen, I have to find a way to go back to this interview, because I don't know what I'm gonna do. What am I gonna do if I don't go back? If I'm not successful, what am I going to do? Quit school? And I mean, at that time, that was my mindset. But I know now that the Lord has so many ways that He can bless us. That wouldn't have been, even if I didn't get to go back, God would have been able to open another door. But at that time, during my faith during that time, I just didn't see another way out. And so we fast forward to me making the decision to go to the embassy. I made the appointment, and when I made the appointment and paid my money, I think you have to pay for the appointment and then pay for the interview separately, and something like that. But I remember paying for the appointment. I think it was a bit over $2,000, and I paid for it, and they registered me under another name, and so I lost that money, and I had to call again and make another appointment. After which I completed the forms, and the date was set for the second interview. Now remember, I stated that I had summer classes during that time, and that was a blessing actually for me to have summer classes during that time, because if I didn't have summer classes, I would have had to wait 40 days before the first interview. But luckily the summer classes was actually in that same period of time, guys, that I was supposed to go back for the second interview. So the second interview was 40 days. I had 40 days to prepare for this interview. How, you might ask, because my situation hasn't changed. So how am I preparing? Okay, I have 40 days, and I remember praying to God, and he told me that I should fast every week until the date of the interview. And I did just that, and I prayed for him to open the windows of heaven and pour out a blessing, because the Lord knows I needed it during that time. My classes were finished right before the date for the interview. And so I remember I was fasting, and I was just petitioning to God to open the doors for me. I had specific petitions when I was fasting. I said to him, I need a 10-year visa because I'm not going through this again. Just give me a 10-year visa, because I cannot bother with the foolishness. I do not want to see that man who rejected me, and I don't want anybody who interviewed anybody during that day to interview me. If it means that you're going to have to bring down Gabriel to do this interview, that's what I'm asking you to do, because I need a breakthrough. And guys, believe it or not, I remember packing, before I went to the interview, I remember packing my suitcase and saying, listen, I am going to call it that visa. I am not even going to do an interview. I'm just going to call it my visa, because the Lord already gave it to me. Now, I remember specifically, there was one more person from that group who decided that he was going to go back to the interview as well. Just one out of about 20, because I don't remember how many students got through, but say about 20 students. Two of us decided that we were going to go back to the embassy. Remember, nothing changed. The only thing that we did was to change the appointment date, change the application, and also change the date on the letter that was sent from overseas that we were supposed to bring to the embassy. But it was the same letter. The only thing that was different on that letter was the date. And I remember them scrutinizing the letter that particular day when I went the first time, and they were asking a bunch of questions. So now we're at the day for the interview. As usual, I fast, I pray, I'm focused, I do what I need to do. I go to the interview early, and I'm there. My friend as well, who decided that he was going to do the interview as well, he was also there with me, but he was super nervous, and he was just chatting away, and I'm like, bro, you need to stop talking to me, because I am praying, like legit. As I'm waiting, I am praying to God. I'm actually fasting that particular day, and I'm just focused because I need God to move. We go into the waiting room, and I remember both of us getting numbers that were close. I don't remember the number, but for example, I got number 21, and he got number 20. And usually when you are waiting to be interviewed, they call the numbers in order. So they're at 19 now, and I'm like, yes, my friend is about to go. I'm here praying for him, that he gets through. Lo and behold, them skip him and jump to me. Again, the devil is a liar. They skipped him You're thinking about it, I have to be laughing. They skipped his number and they went to 21. I'm like, what in the world? Anyway, I got up and I went to the interview, and believe it or not, I was there 15 minutes. This man was interviewing me. This was a man who I didn't see the last time, and I was looking around to see if I see the same man who rejected me. I didn't see him, and I'm like, praise God. So I went, and the usual, he asked me my name, asked me for my passport, and he was just asking me to tell him a little bit about why I'm traveling and what we will be doing on the program. And I remember he took the letter, the same letter. The only thing that was different on this letter was the date. And he took the letter and he punched in my name in the system, and the man started laughing. The man was dead in. He was laughing and he was shaking his head, and he was laughing and he was looking at me and he was shaking his head. And I started praying and I'm saying, Lord, intervene even now. I said, if it's even Gabriel gonna have to send down to do this interview, you're gonna need to send some intervention. And so he said to me, how do you finance your way through school? I'm like, sir, you really want to know? And I started telling him the plethora of things that I did. And he said to me, he looked through the letter and he was asking me about the program, and he said, I see you came prepared. And I said, well, sir, I try. And he was there asking me a bunch of questions, and we were there talking, and I was just praying to God to just let God please work this out. So the interview was almost finished. Listen, the interview was almost finished, and I'm there praying. And you know, there's usually a time, anybody who have been to the embassy knows that there's a time when they stop asking you questions, they're typing stuff. And listen, these people already know the answers to the question that they're asking you. They just want to know if what you put on the paper is actually true. So no, he's not asking me a question, but he turns around and he's typing on the computer, and I'm there praying. And I saw him take up a pink slip. And if anybody has been to the embassy, you know that when you get a slip like that, it means that you were successful. So he gave me a pink slip, and I see him taking up the pink slip, and it is saying to me that I was successful. But for some reason in my mind, I am still praying, you know, because I am like, I know, listen, the devil is a liar. This is a spiritual warfare. I just knew that this was not normal. Something was happening in the spiritual, and I was just praying. And even when he handed it to me, I was still asking God to block anything that would prevent me from being successful. And can you believe? The man hold on to the pink slip. Before I could take it, he said, wait. And I'm saying, see there? I eat this, you know? Yeah, man, I eat this. The man take back, him changing mind, him take back the slip. And he said, wait, when do you say you want to travel again? Because when he was questioning me, he asked me, when do I want to travel? And I said to him, as soon as possible, because as you know, I was already late. Summer session was finished. I was supposed to be gone already. And this is literally 40 days after I did the first interview. So time was running out, and I only had the summer to be on this program, to accumulate enough funds to go to school. I said to him, as soon as possible. And he took back the pink slip and he gave me a red slip, and I'm like, red? What is? Because I've never seen anybody got a red slip to say that they were successful. All I know, red means nothing positive. And he said to me, we don't do this often, but I am going to give you what is called an emergency date to collect your visa. Usually, I think it takes about 3 to 5 working days for you to get your visa, but he asked me to collect it the following day. He said, I am going to allow you, because you said that you need to travel as soon as possible. I am going to allow you to travel as soon as possible, and so you can come and collect your visa tomorrow. The man gave me an emergency appointment to collect my visa. He said, you don't have to come in, just go at the door of the security office and give them your name, and they will have your passport ready for you, I think by 3 o'clock the next day. And listen, it was a setback for my comeback. It was a setback for my comeback. God reverse the curse in the hands of the enemy. God reverse the curse. Hey, it was a setback for my comeback. It was a setback for my comeback. God reverse the curse. God reverse the curse. God reverse the curse. Like I seem to say in my life. When I tell you, say, I was like, what in the world? And I started praising immediately, and some person saw me and they're like, okay, you got through. And I just really thanked God in that moment for working that miracle for me. But the story doesn't end there. I was outside and I was waiting for my friend who went after me, because remember, my number was skipped, and I went before him and then he went after me. And he came out and said, Orla, you got through? And I said, yes. And he told me that unfortunately he didn't get through. He said to me that he literally went back to one of the same persons who interviewed us the last time. And I said, what did they say? She said to him that nothing had changed, and so unfortunately she was not able to grant him the visa. And when I looked at that, I was like, but God, not changing me. After not never changing me, I brought back the same letter. The only thing that was different was this date, and it was the same thing for him. But then I remember how his number was skipped, and it went to me, and I went to that man. And if that wasn't the case, I would have been the one who went to that woman. And I just saw God's hand working in that interview. And fast forward, I went to the embassy the following day to collect my visa. As I stated before, I was finished with classes, and so I was preparing to leave. I packed my bag already. So I was preparing to leave, and I was supposed to go home to see my family, to see my dearest mom, to tell her the good news and to tell her that I'm leaving on a jet plane. I don't know when I'll be back again. And so I went to the embassy, and I had my bag and I had my laptop with me as well. And you know that you can't go in the embassy with bags, but I had no intention on going in the embassy. The man tell me, collect your visa at the door. When I go, another plan of the enemy. They told me that I have to go in, and I can't go in with my bags. And say, sir, the man clearly told me that I should collect the visa at the door, that a security guard would have it, and them say, no miss, that we don't know anything about that, and you can't come in. And we were there for quite a while, and I'm like, the devil is a liar, I'm not leaving today without that visa. And so another security guard came and said, what's happening here? And they told him, and he said to me, praise God. He said to me, miss, I don't know, because usually they don't do this thing, and this is how I know that something not right. Yeah, man, all this thing happening, something not right somewhere. And he took my bag from me with my laptop and my phone and the works, and he said, he asked my name, and he said, okay, I'll collect the bags, I'll keep the bags for you, and you go into, and he directed me where I was supposed to go. I was by this time the embassy was closed. I was the only one in this particular room that I was waiting, and I was actually waiting for quite a while, maybe an hour. And the announcement was made that I was there waiting on my visa. And I remember when the man came to me with the visa, he was just laughing and saying, "Boy, them can't talk to you now. Them can't talk to you now. No, them can't talk to you now." And I'm like, why is he saying that? But it was then I realized that I actually got the 10 years that I had prayed for, and I also did not see anybody, was not interviewed by anyone who was at the first interview, and so the Lord answered my prayer. So now it's time for me to leave. But this is what happened, and stay with me, stay with me. I was supposed to go to New York, but because of the program that I was supposed to go on, it was not in my mind at the time, but I was advised that it maybe wouldn't make any sense for me to just spend 6 weeks pretty much. Is it 6 weeks? Thereabout. Yeah. Well, a month, but I decided that maybe I'm going to have to stay for the first week of school in order to accumulate the funds because I was late. So I had pretty much a month to accumulate the funds that I would need to accumulate in 3 months. And I was advised that, you know what, maybe it wouldn't make any sense because this is a structured program and we don't know, and it's a lot of students on this program this year. We don't know if it would make sense for you to be at this program. So I had a friend, well, I had 2 friends who was actually canvassing in Florida. I remember talking to one of my friends about it. He told me about a program that he was a part of. This wasn't a structured program, but it was what we call an independent program. We do the same thing, but instead of being at a place where all the students were, then providing food accommodations for us, we would just collect our books from the conference and we would be able to work by ourselves. And because I was on this program for 3 years prior, I thought that by this I'm pretty much a veteran. You know, I got this, I know what I'm doing. So, and I think I was in a position to be on an independent program. When I called, they told me that, listen, we got somewhere for you to stay already. Everything was just working out, and this was to go to Florida. And I'm like, boy, God, I've never been to Florida. I've never been on an independent program. What is? But I said, you know what? I'm going to go in faith. The Lord gave me this visa and I'm going to go. And they told me that, you know what, earlier, because you have such a short time, maybe it would make sense for you to come on this independent program. And they just shared with me that they were doing well and it's a strong possibility that I too would do well. And I went to Florida, and believe it or not, it was a setup. I'm telling you, God denied that first visa and allowing me to get the visa 40 days after was God's way of showing me who is God. And he literally set me up because he wanted to detour me. He was taking me from one season and he was bringing me into another season. And that's why he needed me to have that transition. I went for 6 weeks and I accumulated what I wasn't able to accumulate for 3 months in New York. Who could it be but God? I came down and I was able to pay my tuition for that semester in full. And that experience just really opened up my trust and faith in God. Since then, I went that first summer to Florida, but the story does not end there, guys. This is just the beginning of the story, but I'm gonna be talking for the entire evening if I continue. And so I'm gonna end this part of the story here. And if you want to hear what really happened and was this transition based on just a visa or paying my tuition, I'm telling you right now, no, there was so much more that God was doing in that season, why he denied me that visa in the first place, why I wasn't supposed to go to New York and I was supposed to go to Florida. If you want to hear more about that experience, tune into the second episode of this series, Fasting Miracles, to hear what God really did and what he's able to do when we fast and pray and we allow God to do things. Thank you so much for watching. I'm excited about the next episode, and just comment down below what was your high point in this video, what stood out to you, and also your experiences as you fast and pray. Thank you guys so much for watching. Be blessed, and remember, God will make all things beautiful in His time. Love you guys. Bye.